fan show, she did apologize to me completely for that. And apparently she talked to her husband, Jacob. Jacob was like, Sarah's always been there for you. She's a loyal friend.
Okay.
And I don't remember, it might have been on our OnlyFans show where she did say it. She's like, Sarah, you really are a good friend. Unfortunately, this TV stuff, we have to have conflicts and stuff. I'm like, well, you really don't, because people like when the two friends like ride together, but she just wants to be in power so bad that everybody's got to be under her. So the conflict was more so, it was weird. So there's a scripture that it says, and it's about the devil. It says, when he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of all lies. So the things that she would do and say about me, like she's always in my room, she's complaining, she's this, she's a needy friend, it was always like, that's her character. Like her sucking the energy, borrowing things, using things, and then flipping it on you. So it was like the craziest thing, like until I started to understand spiritual warfare, it never made sense to me. And I'm like, if you don't like me, tell me you don't like me. But that's not what the enemy does. He uses deception. He pretends to be your friend, and then he throws you under the bus and uses you, throws you away. And then that seems to be who her character is with everybody.
Interesting. Very interesting. SIDNEY STARR. Were you a fan of her being on the show, or were you like, what? She's not a baddie. She was never on Bad Girls Club.
So it was a mixture. So before I met Sydney, I was like, hold up, you about to have her on there? And what if she hits one of us because she's still got testosterone? She gonna knock one of us out? Like, how is that fair? And they said, no, she promised that she isn't gonna fight anybody. So there was that. And then when I met her in Miami, I liked her. I like everybody. If you like me and you're nice to me, I just like everybody, open arms. So we really got along. And I even told her certain things that Natalie had already plugged, like, oh, she wants somebody to call you a man. She wants this, that, and the other. And just so you know, like, be warned before coming onto the show, because her and I did bond in Miami during the promo. And then when we got on the show, it wasn't until Judy left. So it wasn't like the Sydney versus Judy thing. So then Natalie got Sydney to turn against me, and she took the bait and turned against me instantly when Natalie told her to, which is where that live came from, where I was like, I had my little broke finger eating pizza in the kitchen, and Natalie had me on live. They were trying to antagonize me, and then it was like a whole fight. And then the next day on camera, and it wasn't until I like dropped the live, they tried to make, Sydney said, oh, she came down and started fighting with me. Like, that is not what happened. There was so many moments that like I started to think I was crazy, but I had so much footage on my phone. Oh, because people don't know this. On Zeus, when the camera people aren't around and good stuff was happening, I recorded a lot of stuff on my phone, and I ended up sending that to production because they would miss stuff. And it added a lot to the story.
Interesting. Okay. I'm going to get through the cast. I want your thoughts. Seven. You and Seven have a run-in. And what I like about you is that you don't back down. But Seven is a Spitfire now. She's a rowdy one. If you could go back to that moment, what would you do differently?
So the fight would have flipped because Tanisha and Natalie pulled me aside before the fight. They told me things about Seven to where, because I know if you tell me to pick on somebody and fight with somebody, I'm not going to do it. Now, if you tell me a story and I believe it, and they say, well, we're executive producers and we can't say nothing. And Natalie's like, yeah, and I already got in a fight with Christina. Sarah, take one for the team and confront her. But I believe in what we're confronting her about, because I was told she wants to leave to go to this party with, I can't remember what celebrities, Trey Songz or something. And her and Janelle just want to leave, but she's saying that she misses her child. And I'm believing this is the honest thing. So when I come downstairs, I'm like, okay, I'll call her out on it, because I think that's BS. We're all stuck in this house. Like, I have a car, I live here, I can leave. And you're going to act like it's your child that you miss and that you need time away, but you really want to go to this party. Tanisha was like, yeah, and also you're not going to have to fight, Sarah. I'm going to stand up so you don't have to fight. And I said, okay, cool, I'm going to call her out on it, right? So I went in with that intention where I was like, nah, like, you keep complaining, you want to leave, I'll leave too. And they're like, you can leave. And it makes sense why she didn't understand what was happening, because I was already fed a whole lie that I believed, and I am somebody that will speak up. But in reality, I almost wish I would have been like, no, Natalie told me that you want to leave to go to this party and such, but it would have flipped, because she would have started screaming at me and then would have fought me. And then it would have been a whole attack on me for telling too much of
Natalie
the truth.
would have done that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a very hard situation. And then Tanisha, if you see her, she did try to stand up, but she accidentally fell.
But she always falls. Tanisha is interesting.
And also they oiled the floor. So that's why security actually fell and crushed me and messed up my finger. It wasn't Seven or the fight. It was security who fell on the oil, which is also why the couch slid back. And that's also why the couch slid back on Baddies South. They took the sectional apart, oiled up the floor. That way, when it was barely
done on
pushed, it went
purpose?
flying.
Like, what is the oiling for?
That whole house in Baddies ATL was disgustingly dirty. Why would there be a newly waxed floor? It makes no sense. That's like the one and only like cleaning product you guys got was some oil for the wood floor.
That's a crazy situation. Are you in Seven cool or copacetic?
Yeah, I think we're cool. I mean, I don't have an issue with her. We went to the candy shop for promo after the show. Natalie later tried to make like a beef between us. She was like, oh, she did like a whole campaign because she wanted us to argue online to sell the show for ratings. And I'm like, I'm cool at Seven. I'm not going to do that. But how she told a lie in the house about her to get me to say something, she fed Seven with a bunch of stuff off the show to get her to say something to make us go at it.
Did Seven ever find out the truth about?
She did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was this after the reunion? Was this before the reunion?
Was it? Oh my gosh. I think it was, no, it was definitely before the reunion because I remember speaking to her and she said that at the reunion she would confront her. But I was like, nah, these girls be switching up all the time. And I already know if I come to this reunion, first off, they didn't pay me what I wanted, which is why I had that whole no bag, no reunion campaign. And yeah, I just knew it would switch up. Plus, they're like, oh, but you could say whatever. I'm like, the thing is I can say everything in the world, but if they cut all my words and only show her a couple words, she can paint anything that she wants. And she's already done that. She did it with the season. She's doing it online. Like, I remember one point she took a scene and she like edited the back of my head because I was doing hair and skincare back then. And she was like, Sarah's hair products make your hair fall out. Even before she fought Seven and her hair fell out because she's old. Like, look at her hair. And she like edited a bald spot in the back of my head. So me going on to this platform and arguing at a reunion and not getting paid enough and you can edit what you want, right. I'm just not interested.
Makes sense.
Which is where the book and the chapters and all that came from.
Get into that, baby. We're going to get into that. Okay, so SIDNEY STARR 7, Christina. I saw an interview with her, a very sad interview, in my opinion, with her and Rocky, where she was talking about her experiences with the network. During Baddies ATL, did you see that interview with her and Rocky? I saw parts of it only because that network reached out to me about doing a show. Okay. Do you remember any moments during Baddies ATL where you could see something happening with Christina where she was not happy or whatever the case may be? Yeah, she was unhappy a lot of the times. And it was with not only the network, but Natalie as well. Just the position she was put in. Yeah, I feel bad for Christina. I do feel like she's definitely a victim of the whole situation for sure. Okay. Did you have like a good rapport with her on the show, do you think? Because y'all did the OnlyFans situation where because when I think back about the show, I don't really see a lot of engagement between the two of you, or a lot of scenes, I should say, between the two of you. So what was your relationship with her during that? So her and I were not friends on the show, but even when it came to our rooms, it was actually intentional that I had the bigger room down the hall. The reason being is I actually wanted Christina's room because it was like more homey, gray couch, whatever. But Natalie had already strategically placed us on opposite sides. So Christina and Seven were on this side. Natalie was right here in the middle. And then I was in the corner because she kept me isolated so I couldn't talk to anybody else. So even with me and Christina, we never really had conversations. And she did let it out after the fight of her and Natalie. Natalie got mad at me during the fight because I was like, get her away from the window, which was Christina.
I was like, oh my God, she's going to fall out the window. And it was the basketball court below. And it's the second story of like, I don't want the girl to die. Okay. Natalie got mad that she said I was defending her in that moment. I'm like, I just wanted the girl away from the window. I would do that for anybody. So later that day, I remember being in the living room for filming, and Christina was pacing and she was upset. And she was like kind of talking out of her mouth. She was like, she wanted me to fight you, Sarah. They told me to fight you. Even like the network and Natalie told her to fight me. She was like, Sarah's nice to me. Why would I do that? Because they had been putting stuff in her head and making conflicts before the show. And then when she got mad and said she wasn't fighting me, and Natalie went in her room with the makeup thing, because everybody was supposed to have makeup. It was all supposed to be taken care of. And Christina could have done her own makeup if she would have known in time. But that was to make her look bad. So Christina lost it. She told me, she was like, I wasn't going to fight you, Sarah. That's why I fought Natalie. And then Natalie was pissed because Christina fought her. So she felt betrayed because her plan to make Christina fight me didn't happen. I was oblivious. I had no clue that she was supposed to fight me. No clue.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot going on. Janelle, what was you and Janelle's relationship like? Because I remember seeing Janelle and Seven being buddy on the show, but what was your relationship with her?
We didn't speak much at all. We were cool on All-Star Battle too. We were cool at the BGC 11 reunion because I was like, I'll go back on stage with you and fight with you. But on Baddies, we didn't really have many conversations. Again, Natalie had me on the one side to isolate me, and she kept saying that Seven and Janelle were saying bad things about me. So I purposely wasn't trying to talk to them. And then Janelle's room was downstairs. So everybody was that was a really big house. Yeah. I mean, they're like a football field away from me. You know what I mean? And it's like Natalie's in my room sucking my energy all day. Like, I just want food. When do I even have time to like talk to anybody else? I didn't.
How do you get through that? How did you get through that? And why did you stick through that?
I guess it's for the love of reality TV.
Okay.
Plus, I wanted my own project. This was supposed to be me having my own project.
Okay.
Yeah, I did get a little producer credit. Was I treated like a producer? Not other than adding a little bit to the story. I do remember they had like a meeting downstairs before food, and they knew like the one thing that I needed before coming there. I said, I don't care. I get it's a low budget, it's whatever. Just make sure we have food. So they purposely kept me from eating a lot. And I remember the food came, and I think I laid down for a few minutes because it was like no sleep. It was always chaos, and it was partying late at night. And none of that footage even got to be used. So I thought that was ridiculous. Like, let's do the project first and then worry about going out. And I remember hearing them talking because the kitchen was underneath me. And I go downstairs, and they had like a little meeting. It was like eating and didn't even invite me down. I was like, wait, what's happening? And I was like, nobody called me to tell me to come downstairs. Like, oh, we didn't even know you're here. I'm like, the one and only white person. I'm a producer on this show, and you didn't realize that I'm not here? Like, make it make sense.
That's a lot.
Make it make sense.
That's a lot,
I
Sarah.
just want food.
That's a lot. Okay. So when I think about it, I'm trying to think, like, were there any good moments in Baddies ATL? I remember y'all getting on the stripper pole and having the stripper pole contest, and money was being thrown.
Oh, that wasn't a fun day.
It wasn't? Why not?
Something already happened to where Natalie was already coming against me, and then she had SIDNEY coming against me, which is why SIDNEY was kind of talking crap to me.
I remember that.
That's when I like pulled up my G-string. I'm like, you can't do that, can you? Like, it was so extra. So no, that was not a good day. That was like me finally telling Natalie, like, yo, like, leave me alone. We not friends. And what's so crazy is that outfit too. That was a Fenty lingerie that actually Seven gave me to wear because I guess Rihanna gave it to her to wear for the show, and she wasn't comfortable wearing it, so I wore it. So that just shows me and Seven were already cool at that point.
Well, what about the riding the horse thing outside, the rodeo horse thing, when y'all tried to get Tanisha to get up on there? And
that was fun.
Okay.
So I think that moment was fun. Going out a couple times at night were fun. There was another fun. Oh, we played basketball for a short moment with Zeus against the girls, which wasn't part of the show. So there was definitely fun moments. Okay.
Because in my mind, if you live here, we're here in ATL, I would have left. Like, I just can't see going through all of that and
Yeah.
then sticking that out. So, I mean, I commend you. You leave the show, and then Baddies South comes around. I remember talking to you about it. And I
You were the
remember
only
saying,
person I called. I called you from a Chick-fil-A parking lot.
and I remember saying, girl, do not go, but if you go, make sure there's a bag. I remember that conversation. And I was like, she better not go on that. She better not go on that show. And then you end up on the show. And I'm like, what? Well, that bag better been bagging, baby.
You were the only person I called. The guy I was talking to at the time knew, and then Cal, my bodyguard, knew, which he wasn't well, so I took the other guy. You were the only other person I called. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could get good advice from you because you know without telling me what to do, like everybody else is going to jumble my head even more.
So, baby, you go to this show, and we talked, and I'm like, what's she finna do? What's about to happen on this? God damn it, I'm glued to the TV. And, you know, Natalie is being Natalie, and she like, we got this bitch coming. Oh, whatever, I'ma show her. And I'm like, please, Sarah, please, don't let this girl make a fool. Because, you know, at this point, I'm thinking, they're going to edit to her benefit. They're not going to edit to your benefit. And I'm like, damn it, Sarah, damn it, damn it. So you go, and first of all, what made you go? Like, what was the pitch that was like, this makes sense, I'll do it?
This is the really crazy thing. So I was trying to file my taxes. This was like April of May of 2022.
Okay.
And I called Lemmy and I said, hey, I still ain't got my tax paper. I ain't got, where is it? He's like, oh, we're going to give it to you. I was like, if y'all don't like need to report it, then I don't need to claim it. Like, it's all good.
Right.
But let me know. Don't do it too late to where now I got to go back and redo my taxes. Like, which is it? I don't care either way. Right. And then he was like, how you been? And we just had a casual conversation. And I was like, I don't remember. I literally called for my taxes, and it was something about you trying to be on season 2. I said, now let me stop it. You know, I ain't trying to be on season 2. Now, maybe if I was an executive producer, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no, you know, I have to ask Natalie. She's in charge of this project. And keep in mind, Lemmy's smart with like wordplay, but I know what you're doing, because before you're in charge, she's the second person because you've not put her part of the loop in a lot of things. But now that I'm asking you, you don't want to make her mad, and you're acting like she's in charge and you got to run it by her. That's what he said, right? He was like, maybe we'll do some sort of conversation to kickstart the season and you'll feel safe and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe, I don't know, whatever. So then it was like 3 days later or something. I'm like, yo, let me where's that tax paper? And he was like, how about you do a cameo on season 2? I said, well, hold up. And I said, what are we talking about? I want this amount of money. He was like, done. I was like, wow. So basically that cameo, I got paid for basically the amount I got paid for the whole first season as a producer, just to be there that one little sit down hour. So like, okay, cool, I'll take it. And, of course, they saw my book online, all the numbers that it got. And it was just very casual, like, okay, come on, you're going to do the cameo. So apparently in the storyline, Christina was supposed to call me and say, come over, make amends with Natalie. I want y'all to get along. But things went left with Christina, and she left the show and didn't get aired. So then when I show up, the producers are outside and they're like, no, she doesn't want to fight. And she turned a new page. And I said, well, it is what it is. I don't care. I don't know why they baited me for that. But then like my security got in an argument with Zeus. It was a whole thing 30 minutes outside before I even went in. I'm like, why I leave? you already gave me 50% deposit. If you want me to leave, then I'll leave. Because he was like, you could just go, Sarah. He was trying to call my bluff. Because then he came back out and then they asked me to come back in. And of course, that's what I did. And I did exactly what they wanted. I spoke about what I needed to. But it was crazy because when I walked in, and that's why I was smiling so big. And I don't know what made me say, people ask me all the time, why'd you say, oh, Miss Nunn? First off, I walk in and keep in mind, my security and Zeus got in a whole argument. I'm like already trying to defend myself in the parking lot before going in there. They bait me trying to say, oh, she don't want to fight. She don't want to, like, why even say that? I come in and she's like tapping her foot with like a jumpsuit on. And I'm like, oh, Miss Nunn. Because I was like, I didn't know what to expect. And then there's like so much production. There was like 25 people there. I don't even know who all these people were. Like we had 5 people on our set. Like I was confused. I said, oh my God, like security, my security. I'm like, I hope you make sure you got this because there's a lot of them.
So one of the things that you go back and forth with Natalie from is her being white.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get into that? Where does that come from? Because does she say she black or what?
So I don't know if I remember correctly, but from her season 4, I believe, she claimed to be like, I believe, white and Puerto Rican and something else maybe.
Okay.
And she always talked bad about dark-skinned girls. And even the way she spoke, she would just kind of seem kind of bougie, kind of like, in a weird way, I was like more black than her.
Okay.
So when Baddies started to happen, she became like super ghetto. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is literally Nunu, who grew up in the rich, remember on ATL, Nunu? She had like the rich family. She was well kept, but then she pretended to be from the ghetto. So T.I. would like her. He got her the little necklace when she's like driving Benzes, acting poor.
Yeah.
So it made no sense to me because she would always like attack me and who I am. I'm like, girl, I live on the South Side. Like, I'm about this life in real life. Like, so stop it. She has a white mom. Out of all things, her stepmom is the one that told me that her mom's name was Karen. I'm like, wow, go figure. Karen, out of all things. And then I found out she went to an all-white Catholic school. And then even in my book and chapters, I had like all her photos from high school. She had all white friends. She wanted to be white. And then she even told her stepmom, who was catering to her black husband, like, why are you cooking this black food? And I don't want this food, because it was like soul food. So she was very white friends, white food, white culture. She wanted no parts of this other side of life. So it's crazy that she flipped it for sales and ratings, that she all of a sudden wanted to be black.
Where did the book come from? Why the book? What made you do the book?
The book. So for one, I got the idea because I love Power, and in Power, 50 Cent says like Power Book 1, Power Book 2, and then chapters. So I was like, oh, okay, they can be in order by chapters. So I was writing the chapters in response to what she was saying. And it was so crazy because my first book, which was on YouTube, she kept saying I was talking about her. That book was written only as responses to what she was saying. So if she said something about me, okay, chapter 1, da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
She said that, okay, chapter 2. And the title would be a response to what she was already saying online. But because she would like put stories on and then delete them, and then they'd go to blogs and people would believe them, she made it seem like I was talking about her when really she was talking about me. And I just defended myself with receipts and the truth when she was making up lies.
Okay. Who do you think won the fight between you two?
I would say me, mentally and verbally. Physically, neither, because she tried to sucker punch me and missed. I had like a scratch on my ear. Yeah, I fell because it was like oiled up on the ground. And like, I remember trying to kick her off me. I still wasn't even trying to for real hurt her. And then after the fight, she tried it twice. She just looked horrible. Her hair was crazy. Her jumpsuit was ripped. She looked a hot mess. She was angry. She was yelling, and I was still pretty calm. So people from what I've heard people say that some of the security are biased or have their favorites or who they want to protect, or the security are like, well, really protect this person but not protect this person. Do you think that was your situation when having that altercation with her, that the security was team Natalie and not really caring for you? Probably so, because even if security wasn't going to originally break up the fight, I don't know why they didn't pick me up off the floor after falling. Okay. And then I do feel like after because I went on that show and I said, I don't want to fight, I'm not fighting. And I had my security guard say, I don't want to fight. But you get me riled up. It's in my nature to fight. I'm a fighter. So after the second time it happened, I was like, nah, let me go. I'm ready to fight. And then they cut it and basically was like, nah, it's over. We're going to leave now. So I didn't want to fight the entire time. And I said I wasn't going to fight. I came in with not fighting. And when I wanted to fight, it was like, no, we're done.
Were the other girls upstairs looking down? Did you see the other girls? Because in the show, she was like looking up. I'm with my whooper and all of them. She's talking all this stuff. Was there an audience of the girls looking down, watching y'all have y'all's?
So I don't remember a girl. I do remember looking behind me because I saw all the production lined up. I never saw any girls up there. Okay. Nobody made a single noise to make me look up. nor did I feel somebody watching me from above. So I think all that was added in because I didn't even know who was on the cast.
Okay.
And there's no way that they would have been quiet without yelling during the fight.
Yeah. Okay. So you do a Tommy Lee and you bring a weapon to set. What was going through your mind, friend? Because I know I told you not to go on that bitch. I said, forget them, girl. Forget them. But you went.
Yeah.
And you had a little pew-pew going on.
Okay.
So how did that work? Explain.
So it's not that I took a weapon to set. It's that I didn't not take a weapon. Meaning I keep one in my purse all the time. Like there's literally one in my purse now on set. Like this is Georgia. We do that. Like I was robbed at gunpoint at 17 at South Lake Mall. All my prom money that I saved up to get a dress. My house has been fully robbed, which is why I have cameras everywhere. I came home to a clean house like one night when I was 22 working at Opera Night.
Like everything gone?
Everything was gone.
Oh, wow.
My TV, my computer, my jewelry, all my dog's baby photos, like, because it was in the computer, modeling photos I didn't want out. So came home to an empty house. So I always have one on me. I have one at my house. I always have one on me. It's not like I cared to bring it for her. I'm not going to shoot nobody. Like, even if somebody did something to me, they would have to really, like, put somebody in harm's way for me to be like, okay, I want to take somebody's life. I don't even want to, like, hurt somebody when I fight them. You know what I mean? Like, it's more so to defend myself.
Why was the security having your security and Zeus having a big back and forth? What was that all about?
So this is the crazy thing. The guy, he is super shy and very soft-spoken, which seems crazy to believe. Security? Yes.
Okay.
I had just met him. I hired him through a company that my bodyguard referred me to because he wasn't feeling well. People have seen Cal on TV with me for 10 plus years. He's always been my bodyguard. He hurt his ankle. He couldn't come. So I get this guy to come. I kind of prep him beforehand. He's never done a TV show. I kind of explained to him, like, look, they're going to have a lot of security. They said they're only going to have 2, which of course was a lie. And he's just a very shy, soft-spoken person. So when he did that and they were like, who is this guy? That ain't Cal. We didn't approve him to come. And I'm like, well, how many security y'all have? Because y'all said only 2. There's no reason for this. I was concerned because to this day, my finger is still crooked from Zeus's security. And then when Lemmy was telling him, no, he can't this, that, and the other, and all this other stuff, the guy was just kind of looking and being quiet, and he took that as the guy was threatening him. He was never threatening him. So it was a miscommunication. So Lemmy's like, I'll get them out here to, I don't know. He was like trying to fight my security with his, it was the craziest thing. And then it took Daryl, I'm trying to say Daryl Chambers, Daryl Farmer. He's always like the voice of reason, very calm, very, he's like the peacemaker. He always thinks things through. So he was the one that had the conversation. When he saw my security, I was like, look, he's not, he's like, oh, he wants you to apologize. He's like, I ain't gonna apologize. I'm like, look, we got to get in there. I got to get this checked. He never made him apologize, but Daryl spoke to both of them, realized that my security really was soft-spoken and shy, and that it was never a threat. So he thought the silence was a threat, and it was like madness.
Well, silence could be that though, depending on the person. Yeah,
that guy's like the biggest teddy bear, but I mean, I get it. He looks scary because you don't know if he's like thinking about like just breaking you in half.
I just remember looking at that clip and I was like, stay around. And then you had to go back to your car to drop off the weapon, and I was like, oh, she about to blow this place up. Let's go. Did you honestly think that you could mend things with Natalie going into that situation on Baddies South?
So knowing Natalie, I didn't think that it was able to. Would I go in there with the intention of doing so, or could I? I 100% could. Like, you know, she's never apologized about anything to this day, but I've forgiven her. Like, I don't care. There's no animosity. I don't like wish bad upon her. Like, honestly, I feel bad for her. So, yeah,
you feel bad for her now, or you felt bad for her then?
I think both.
Okay.
Both, because I remember that one moment where she was like, you know, I don't want to do certain things, but I feel like I need to because of TV, and it's just the life that we chose. But I do know and feel, and yeah, I may not be monetarily as set as her now, but I would not compromise who I am and my morals and my character and put people down in order to get money. So I think as a human being, they feel that guilt no matter what. That's why they can paint like they're happy and show all these things. But even when you were trying to get it, you weren't happy. You were comparing yourself. You were upset with things. You're always trying to compete with people. So now you think that the money will make you happy. It doesn't. It just magnifies everything. So I even saw the clip where I guess she was arguing with Lemmy. Lemmy was like,
well, no, they were still here. They were still here. And she was like, she got on live. And I remember her calling him, you are a baddie, you got a thong up your butt. And both the brothers were there at the car, and they were like, we're not going to touch you. And he was like, call your boyfriends, call your boy. That was a lot.
Yeah. I do feel like she probably feels not like hostage, because that's her playing victim as she always does.
Okay.
But I can tell by not only being there and knowing her, it's her being upset that she doesn't have the power and control that she wants. And then Lemmy being able to call the shots. So I understand it from both aspects. Okay. But her, like, I know, like, how she said, like, she has to fight and do certain things. Okay, first off, you bring all that on yourself for the most part. But some things is them telling you to stir stuff up, and you take it upon yourself to do so. Because you could say, no, I'm not doing it, and walk away, because that's what I did. I said, no, I'm not doing that. They always knew not to come to me with certain stuff because they know I'm not going to go for it. You have to, like, make me believe it and tell me a lie in order for me to have a reaction.
Do you think that, how can I word this? Because I understand what you're saying, because I felt like I would have done the same thing. Like, I'm not going to make up a storyline. I'm not going to, force negative energy towards somebody to have them fight this person or whatever. But that's why they're a multi-million-dollar, probably $1 billion corporation or whatever they are, whatever they have over there. And it's a lot of things for me, because I feel that that's sad, one, because you have these beautiful women up there beating each other to a pulp, and it's making this company rich, you know? And then it's like, if they were to do a very wholesome show and everyone got along and they were teaching people how to crochet, no one would watch it.
They don't watch it.
So it's like, they watch the drama, they watch the craziness, and now this network is just crazy, filthy rich. If he were to call you today and say, hey, Sarah, how are you? I have a show idea and I would like you to come on and run a show. Would you?
It depends on the concept of the show. And it would also depend on which he has the money to do so now. So if it was like, we're going to give you your own production company, you'll be in control of this, you deliver the product, like we know you'll deliver what we want. If it was that. Now, if it was like being on a Zeus set and then having to use Natalie's camera crew, so now she has that animosity and she wants to go to war online, and it never ending, like how she was with Jocelyn, I wouldn't want no parts in that.
Who would you work with first, Jocelyn or Natalie? And why?
I would probably say Jocelyn.
Okay.
Only because I already know what Natalie's going to do. I already know, like, it is not going to be good. And, Jocelyn and I have spoke a few times, and one time was after the book dropped about doing a show together. And it's not something I wouldn't not do. I mean, I did see Jocelyn's Cabaret. I do realize, like, okay, it could still be drama. I don't know if it would be, I just feel like it would be different because I'm a whole separate individual than her. It ain't like a bad girl and a bad girl where Natalie feels competition. I feel like it's like, oh, Jocelyn, you would be producing and I would be such and such. I feel like she would be more okay with it because you're loving hip hop. I'm Bad Girls Club. Like, what are we? It's not the same to me. At least that's my experience with Bad Girls in general, because they feel like we're all equal when not only were we not equal on Bad Girls Club in that moment, but we're definitely not equal today if I'm doing this and you're doing that and vice versa. We're not equal.
What was the juiciest thing in your book that you believe?
So my first book was exploiting the audio and stuff online in response to the lies that Natalie made to me. The second book was the entire OnlyFans show that we 6 girls put together. And what is, let me think, wow, the juiciest thing from either book?
Did you sell a lot? How much did you sell?
I didn't did pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I did pretty well. I do know that it was crazy because Lemmy was like, you got to come on this reunion to have a voice. Otherwise, nobody's going to hear you out. I'm like, but if y'all cut everything and make Natalie this way,
Right.
I ain't going to say nothing anyway. So if y'all don't pay me this amount. So I made more on my book than I would have for that reunion. So it was a win-win because not only did I get to speak my voice, I got to be true to who I was. I got to tell the truth. Nothing was edited out. And I made more than I was offered for the reunion.
What happens in Dubai? Everyone wants to know.
Well, they're not selling eyelashes.
All right, so would you say like it's another blink twice scenario?
Yeah, but it's a voluntarily blink twice. On blink twice, the guys were, well, I don't know. Maybe it could be. I don't think it's the guys doing it. I think it's her doing it. So yeah, I think essentially maybe a little bit. I think some might be voluntary. Some might really not know what they're getting into. But as the last piece of it, if that's what you want to do and you want to do that, okay, it's not me to talk bad about you. But what I don't like is how if the guy thinks he's giving a girl a certain amount of money, but then there's the ringleader who's taking the money, giving her less, and then now she feels the guy's expecting a lot of her, but it's really because the ringleader is stealing the money and the guy don't know and the girl don't know because they're not allowed to talk. That's what I'm not okay with.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So I get it that it starts off with like this guise of like a girl's trip, but then the girls meet the men and then the men are expecting things. And then it's like, you do it or you don't do it. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, because girls like going on trips, they like nice things.
Yeah.
Who's to say like it's bad that they're going to have fun? Guys want one thing, girls want one thing. They have fun. They intermix. Men and women sleep together all the time at a bar, at a club. That's not the problem. The problem is when someone's trying to orchestrate lying to both and keeping the majority of the money to herself. That's, I feel, the main problem.
I want to ask you a question. What is the fascination with women and being gifted with bags? That seems to make like everything go away. Like, oh, I did this to you. I apologize. Here's a new Louis bag. Here's a new Chanel bag. Here's a new Tom, whatever, whoever makes it.
Sometimes they're fake bags.
Well, what is the fascination? So like if your boyfriend that you're with right now did something bad or whatever, could he sweeten the deal or make an apology by giving you a new bag?
It depends on what he did.
Okay.
And at this point, no, because I now have a lot of shoes, bag, and jewelry. But back then, if it's a guy I didn't really care about and you thought you were going to do something or treat me a certain way, I'd be like, okay, well, it's transactional. You pay for this, so buy me this. So me, myself, at this day and time, like, no, that's not going to slide whatsoever. I could care less about a bag anymore. I still like bags. I purposely haven't even bought one in probably 2-3 years, which is crazy. Even a pair of heels, like I don't spend money on that anymore.
Now, I only ask because after that situation, after that situation with Natalie in the car talking about they're holding me hostage or whatever, the very next day or maybe 2 days later,
She got a bag?
we see them in the store and
Stop it.
which seems like, you know, the head honcho is in the store with the ladies and I guess buying them stuff. I don't know. And so more recently, we see Scotty allegedly is on social media because Natalie finally apologized to her, allegedly or whatever, and she's gifted a new bag. And so that's why I'm asking. I'm like, do the bags make everything better and okay?
So to some people it does, but this makes me think of that Waka Flocka Tammy situation where he cheated for the millionth time and he bought her like a bag or something. She's like, I don't want this bag. And some girls are like, I'll take a bag because they're used to being cheated on and get nothing. But once you have certain things and you have different morals and standards, that isn't good enough. But the mindset of somebody mentally to go on that show, knowing what it could entail, it's a difference when you don't know anything at all. But there's enough stuff out and it's been out long enough. Like, you know what it is that's going to happen for the most part. Maybe you don't know all of it, but you know that it ain't like peaches and cream over there. So I think the mindset that they already have is that city girl mindset where it's like a bag is good enough. Because I remember and not to throw Christina under the bus. I love Christina, and I think she's such a genuine, caring soul. But I remember having a conversation with her in the laundry room on the Baddies house, and I believe she's already spoke about this in an interview, so this isn't something new.
Okay.
That she was promised a pair of red bottom shoes. And I'm like, girl, do you realize how much money we are making on OnlyFans right now? You don't need this network to buy you a pair of Louboutin shoes. Like, do you not understand? Like, you can go buy them yourself. They're only like $1,000, $1,500, which is a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, but we're making enough money for you to buy it in yourself. So if somebody's trying to entice you with some shoes, no, they're about to take the show and make millions off of it. And she even said, I regret not listening to you. And for me to talk about a pair of shoes now, it just seems so crazy. But I mean, it's a thing. It's in the Bible. It's what? Lust of the eyes. Like, you want certain items. It's like idolatry. Like, this bag makes you feel like you are somebody. Like, the money that I don't know. I get it. It's just not mentally where I am. But I mean, I get it.
Do you know of any of the women having like relations with the people on production and set? Is that like a thing?
I definitely wouldn't say they are separated in any sort of way. It isn't like they definitely mix business with pleasure. There's no like black and white. Everything's gray over there.
Okay. Today, where are you in Natalie? And when's the last time you've spoken to her?
The last time was Baddies South in 2022, I believe, May 2022. That on-camera conversation was the last time I've ever seen her or had a conversation. I think she been blocked me on social media, so it's not like she's said anything online. That's the last time we spoke, and then it's just we parted ways and never spoke again.
Okay. That was that the last show you did on television?
That's technically not television.
Well, yeah, online streaming platform.
But so think about it. Country Wayne's an online streaming platform, and we got more viewers on a daily basis. So I'm on Country Wayne for the past 2+ years. So yeah, cheers to that.
Yes, indeed.
Every single daily video that I'm in gets between 400,000 to 1.2 million views, and these skits drop every single day.
Come on now. So it's safe to say that you are happier or happy.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You're with Country Wayne. You're doing these videos. You were just in DC. Is that for Country Wayne? Is that the same show?
Yes.
Okay.
That's actually my third trip with the production. It was DC was the last one for an HBCU, and that was a lot of fun. The crazy thing is because my character was supposed to feel uncomfortable, and they were trying to catch a moment where these girls were staring at me because it's like, oh, this white woman is with the black man on HBCU, but they're really like, is that Sarah? Is that? And we had to cut like multiple footage videos because they were like, Sarah, oh my God, Sarah, we love you, Sarah. And it's crazy because the Country Wayne fans think I'm like this bougie, like better than everybody else, can't take accountability, like all about myself type of person, or maybe I don't fit in, but like, hello.
Yeah. What's interesting is that when was it for you that you realized that your name meant something to a lot of people? What moment was that for you?
I think it was after season 11 when I realized a lot of my fans, two things, they either come from lower income households or they were gay. And it took I have so many messages over the years, especially back then, but even to this day, where it'll be gay men who say that they were, well, I wouldn't say men, gay boys, because they were high schoolish age, and they were bullied in school, and they were talking about how I helped them get through, like, them being bullied. I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean? And it wasn't anything I said or did. It's not that I'm going on these anti-bully campaigns like some of the other girls tried to do. They said that me standing up for myself and a house coming against me saying they didn't like me, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I was confident in who I was. They said they took that same energy into like school. Like, if Sarah can do it, I could do it. So it was like a moment of like, I knew that I've always known that I was different from people, But that's what really solidified that I'm different from people. And it's almost making me tear up because like I'm very big into God and church and in faith and reading the Bible, but I'm not one to judge. And still to this day, it's kind of odd because, you know, sometimes the church will condemn like the gay community, which is the opposite because all sins are like, we're all like filthy rags is how God says we are, you know? So it ain't one person to judge one sin over the other. So even me today, like the guy that I got baptized with, who I made friends with in acting class, was a gay man. The second guy that started coming to church with us was a gay man. My friend that came before was a gay guy. Like, so I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. It's just hard to explain. To be able to be in church and still show love and have gay friends and to let everybody know that we're all the same and we're all equal in God's eyes, it's like a different feeling. And it's almost like he started that on Bad Girls Club season 11 because he ultimately creates our path and makes us where we need to be later on in life. So it's just... I don't even know how to put it in words for real.
I will say that it's very interesting because even when you helped me with the reality show, when I had mentioned that you were coming, oh my God, Sarah's coming on. Oh my God. Oh, this is so good that I can't wait to meet her. And then even like doing this interview, somebody that I know, gay man, was like, only one I care about is Sarah. When she comes on, I'm gonna watch that. So it's very interesting, right? Like you get into these situations where you're at a HBCU and people know who you are, or you're at a grocery store and people know who you are, or you're out and about just minding your business and people know who you are.
All the Family Dollars can't go in a Family Dollar. They left me in there.
It took some time for me to get used to it, right? Because, you know, I was just out on a cruise in March. You're the guy from da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm just out here on the ocean, you know, minding my business. And, you know, someone's like, I love what you do. And so that it could be two things. I don't know how it is for you. At majority of the time, it is a great thing. But then it's also like, damn, I'm always under a microscope. Oh, damn, I got to make sure when I go out, I look a certain way. Oh, damn, I got to make sure I don't have an attitude with me. Like, do you ever feel that when you go out and you're just minding your business that you have to not put on, but put on because, you know, people expect you to act or look a certain way?
So I think I adjusted pretty well. I remember in like 2014, 15-ish, I kind of would get anxiety, which is crazy. I'd never had anxiety before. I'd wear a hood. I'd go into the store. I'd go late at night to go grocery shopping. Now it doesn't bother me. Now I completely embrace it and I expect it. Certain times I may not want to go certain places. Like say, for instance, me and my guy, we went to eat real quick. He's like, let's go bowling real quick. And I'm like, ew, not with what I got on. He's like, it doesn't matter. And I'm like, I don't know about this. And we go bowling and so many kids are running up to me. And it's crazy because they're watching Bad Girls Club as if it's new on like Peacock and Hulu or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's fine. I'll talk to you and love you all day and hug you, but I don't want a photo right now.
Right,
it's just a photo.
Right.
Which I'm such a nice person that I would never tell a fan no in a million years. I've heard I've heard situations where people say that who they really looked up to treated them some type of way and how it just crushed their spirit. And for people to look up to me, like they are the reason that we can be who we are. So imagine if you go everywhere and nobody cares about you. So it's almost like, don't get annoyed, embrace the fact that they do know you. And the pictures sometimes when you look in rough is cut. So I try to look pretty decent no matter where I go. Cause
it's just, I've been on YouTube since 2005. So I can definitely say that I'm used to it, but it's like a time and a place. It's like, you know, a time and a place, kind of like, okay. But no, I have accepted the fact that I've done a lot for my community and that people think of me as such, and I do embrace it. But it's still very interesting because, you know, I just think I'm just regular Wes. Like I'm just a regular guy. I go to the gym. Just today, I went to the gym. Someone's like, hey. I'm like,
people love you.
Hey, what's up? How are you? You know? And it's just, I'm just, I guess, humble like that, I guess, or modest like that. I just don't think of myself as this whatever. I'm just regular Wes. When did God come into your life so heavy?
So I just read something the other day where it says how God will work with you when you're in the valley. And it was after all those reality shows, the Fallout, the Africa trip, that like I started doing like law of attraction, listening to sermons like Joyce Meyer, Joel Osteen, and I never really understood the Bible or anything like that. I spent those years working on myself, and then the OnlyFans show came about, and then Baddies. And when that went really bad, my cousin, who's a pastor, reached out to me. I'm opening a new church. I'm the senior pastor. Come here. I went there for a while. Long story, that went left. I got kicked out of church. I didn't even do nothing. It was crazy. And later, I found a church that I now go to, which I love and has changed my life. That's where I got baptized. And he comes to you in those valley moments. But then when you really start learning about him, you realize like he was there the whole time and he was orchestrating things the whole time. Like I remember being on BGC 11, the whole house was fighting me. My face was clawed. They sent me to the halfway house, not the halfway house, I'm thinking of the boyfriend. Okay. They sent me to the hotel. My hair was ripped out. And I remember Trish, the producer, saying, "Are you okay? Are you sure okay? Do you want to go home? You're the strongest girl we ever met." And the craziest thing is I said to her, I said, "No, I don't feel alone because I know you guys are watching in the cameras, you are in the rooms and everything." And I said, "I feel like in a way you guys are with me, watching me." Keep in mind, they're producers. Yeah, they liked me, but they're doing their job. They're going to do whatever they need to like harm me in a certain amount of way to get good ratings. So it wasn't until I really started learning about God and stuff, that feeling of somebody watching me through the camera was really God watching me the entire time. It's so crazy. And I remember being in church for the Resurrection Sunday a couple years back, and they did the whole mocking Jesus, putting him on a cross, and they were laughing and pointing. And it was so crazy because what they did on the stage in that play looked like me on BGC 11 before they basically jumped me and Mimi was laughing and they were pointing and it was crazy because not only did I feel that, when I say that to people, they're like, "So you're comparing yourself to Jesus?" I'm like, "Hey, first off, it says there's nothing new written under the sun. You will be persecuted for my name's sake." So if you read your word, you would know that everything that happens to us is part of the Bible in some way or another. And my mom even said it. She goes, "When I was watching them on stage, it reminded me of you on TV." And I'm like, so I'm not crazy. So I don't know. It's just like the best feeling. It's like the best peace you could ever have. I don't worry about where I am in life. Like I feel content in my relationship with God. And when you have him holding you accountable, like say for instance, in a relationship, they can only do so much for you, to you, or what if they don't act right? Or what if you do something, you're holding yourself accountable because God's holding you accountable. So if you find somebody that has the same faith and beliefs as you, how they say like to be equally yoked, or how can two walk together less in agreement? It's because you're now answering to God and you know God's watching you. So you're not going to go off and cheat and do certain things. So I feel like in my life, and I'm 40, like I'm not worried about, oh my God, I'm too old to have kids. I'm worried about this. Do I have enough money? Do I need to be on this show? I literally let God lead and I feel more at peace than I've ever felt. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Is this how you were throughout the years, or did it? Because I don't feel like on Instagram, because like on Instagram, I hear you reading scriptures and stuff. I don't remember that back in the day.
No, never. I started it 2 years ago. I never grew up in church. I remember going to a couple Bible studies with my dad's mom in like 4th grade. I knew nothing. I felt stupid. I was an A student in school, so I remember going to Bible study feeling so dumb that these kids knew answers. I knew nothing. And even when I did marriage boot camp, it wasn't aired on TV, but they do a whole segment of a thing about coming to God and a religious day that they don't air. It's only online. But that show was originally Christian based and biblical based. They just took it out of the network. And I asked questions then. Even then, I didn't know what the Holy Trinity meant. I'm like, wait, Jesus is God? What is the Holy Spirit? I don't get it. And nobody really gave me an answer. And it wasn't until years later, I kept feeling God call me. And it says nobody can come to Christ unless he calls them. So that's part of scripture as well. So it's like he kept calling me over and over. And when I finally came and started learning, I realized he was there the entire time. And even Selena Johnson, she was on Marriage Boot Camp.
Okay, yeah.
I remember she told me one time, and it stuck with me. She was like, "You're God's child." Like, what does that even mean? But now I do know what it means.
So, I'm a gay black man, if
Yes.
y'all didn't know this.
Very.
And when I was growing up, I always knew that being gay was incorrect. I always knew that I could not play with Barbie dolls. I always knew that liking the same sex was not okay. So I couldn't do that in my younger years. Mind you, I was like 5 or 6 when I found attraction in the same sex. And so I tucked that away, hid that away. But also then I knew that church wasn't for me either. I felt like walking in the church would be me being burnt alive. Like that's what was told to me. That's all I knew, right? Fast forward, I'm of age, I'm an adult, I'm very content with who I am as a person, but church just never rung or struck a chord with me ever, because I've always been told, you're a sin, you're going to hell, you're going to die, blah, 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 blah. What would you say to not only me, but to anyone out there that is gay and hasn't, stepped a foot in the church in forever or how long? What would you say to me that would make me feel like religion or God could be possibly for me?
Okay, so what you believe, I understand why you believe it, because that's what you've been told, but it's 100% inaccurate. So the God that I believe in and the church that I go to, how there's many gods, okay, how they say, oh, we all worship one being and he's the high. No, I worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When you start reading the Bible, you'll realize who they are. They're a big part of the Bible, which the Son is Jesus Christ. He is a God of mercy and of grace. People want to stick and be like, oh, if you're gay, it's the ultimate sin. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. First off, people only know the 10 commandments, and I don't even think being homosexual is not one of the 10 commandments. It says like no sex before marriage or adultery or something. So that's pretty much the entire world, not your own sexual preference. And what people don't know, and I just did a video on this, and I may have the number wrong, but there's actually 468 laws that God put in the Bible. We as people only know the basic 10, if we even know that many. There's 365 don'ts and like 100 and however many do's that people don't know about. So if people make you feel that way, it's like, okay, going to the hospital. Do you go to the hospital when you're healthy? No, you go when you're sick or you have a problem. You should, if you have a problem, you should be going to the church. You should be learning. And also think about this, like, where's a place that you frequent a lot?
My home.
Okay, beside your home, let's say you're a barbershop, or you have a certain night spot that you used to go to, or even being in school. Have you been hurt or betrayed or backstabbed or met somebody in any of those places that did something wrong to you? But you still went to get a haircut, right?
True.
You still went to school.
True.
You still went to do all these things. But why is it, oh my God, the church, I can't go to the church because I feel like it's this place that it's because it is a tactic of the enemy. He doesn't want you to go there. So you're believing all these lies that the enemy has fed you to where you won't even go and give it a chance. So even though, think about it, I've been going there to this church for 2.5 years. Everybody that's ever gone with me, they have loved it. It has been directly spoken to them.
Okay.
They don't make you feel any sort of way about anything. He holds everybody accountable. You drink too much, that's a sin. You eat too much, that's a sin. You treat people a certain way. Like, the most important thing that God wants from people is to love him and to love others. You're a very loving and caring person. So your sexual orientation has nothing to do with the main thing that God wants from people. Okay. So if you love God and love other people, and I already know you love other people because I've seen how you act. Like, I can tell who you are in your core as your character. All this other stuff doesn't matter. Like, we all have weaknesses. Even the straight man who does this, and this, and gives back and whatever, he has a weakness. Like in the Bible, it says the Apostle Paul, he said, please take this thorn out of my side. The Apostle Paul was one of the greatest apostles. And if you read about him, he persecuted and had Christians killed, and God used him. It says God doesn't call the qualified, but he qualifies the called. People don't know about Moses. Moses was a murderer. He had a bad temper. Noah was a drunk. All these people that he used were never picture perfect, because it's supposed to know that God is the one who uses them, so no man can boast. So for somebody to feel they can't go to church because they're gay, the one and only guy that I got baptized with was a gay man. The first person that came to me to my cousin's church was a gay guy. And you know both of them. You actually know two others that came to Good Friday that went. So to think that you shouldn't be in church or that you're judged, you wouldn't feel that way at my church, nor do we have that belief system. Well, I don't want to say it because I don't want stalkers there, but I'll tell you after. Because then, like, people
that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So if somebody really wants to go, then I'll tell them. But I'll look at their page. I'm like, you ain't trying to go to church.
Right.
Like, stop it.
Right.
But yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. DIY. Where did that start? Have you always been like good with your hands? Has that always been a thing for you? Like, if you were to do your own show, would it be, a home and gardens type thing with Sarah? What does that look like for you? Because you'd be out there doing some things. When did that start?
I would say in 2018-ish.
Okay.
So in high school, I always loved art. People don't know this, but when I went to college, I was a pre-med psychology major, and I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. So yeah, when I was young, I was thinking of a vet, then I was thinking a dentist. Later, I loved my psychology teacher, which is why I focused on psychology other than biology or chemistry. And he was like, well, if you love artwork, be a plastic surgeon. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great idea, because it's a form of artwork. You're fixing people. It's like beauty. And I've always had this thing where I like making things look pretty. Like, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from anything nice, but I'd always try to put things together nicely. So when I decided, after doing TV and certain things, I was like, let me get my home in order. I started with the inside of my house, and it was literally trial and error. I was like, oh, let me paint this. Let me do this. Let me decorate. And then the backyard came along, and that's when I built the deck, the fence, like the concrete, and it just kind of continued. And I used to do DIY videos back then. They never monetarily made sense, and then it would take away from the peace and enjoyment of doing it. You know this more than anything. Editing videos takes longer than even filming it. So I was like, oh, this ain't for me. So now I try to add a couple little bootleg videos in, but I do a lot more than I show because I enjoy DIY. I did pitch a DIY show, but they said at the time all they were doing was if you basically invested in houses on your own, and you need a house per episode, which means you would be buying 10 houses for one season. I'm like, oh yeah, that ain't all that. Like, that's a lot. And then what they do too is they stage doing a couple little things, and then the crew comes in and does everything, because you physically don't have time to like redo an entire house.